Plants vs Zombies 2, a game I can't get enough of. So I've decided to attempt being Plants vs Zombies 2 only using fire plants.
Hey, y'all gotta press subscribe, man. I need to be set free.
Hold on, before we start, let's talk about some of the basic rules already in place for this challenge. So the rules that we're going to follow throughout this whole series: rule number 1, no leveling up any plants whatsoever except for the level 2 mandatory pea shooter at the start of the game. But other than that, we're completely fine. Rule number 2, no power-ups are allowed. Last but not least, you can only use fire plants throughout the series. If you're not a fire-breathing dragon or a wasabi whip thingy-majiggy, or matter of fact, if you're not a tornado, you cannot be used in this challenge. And just because I hate myself, we also won't be using sunflowers. Will you all caught up now? Let's get straight to it. Beginning the game from, well, level 1. Looking at this cast of members, I realized we don't have enough new plants to say, and I wanted to see a whole loadout of fire plants and just variate them from level to level. So we went on a shopping spree. After looking at the Piracy's lineup of plants, there was quite a few that we could use. So it didn't scratch my itch of having enough fire plants. So we went to the shop and we spent some money. Yeah, we only bought one. Yeah, let me know if this was a good decision, because I honestly never used this plant before. 7,000 likes and I'll buy all the fire plants in the game. Numero uno. And this is quite a cool design plant to say, and this is going to be the Wasabi Whip. This character, or plant to say, hits both forward and backwards and is actually quite useful, and with our cheaper cost of 150 sun, wasn't one of my favorite plants to use, but we ended up getting it, so we can move on with an extra plant in our arsenal. Finally sailing our way to where we can select some plants. Day 1 began as any other day, farming some sunlight that falls from the sky, because again, we cannot use any sunflowers. I'm placing a beautiful blaze leaf on the second row to initiate my plan that I established last episode of placing a blaze leaf on the second row and the fourth row to get every single lane where our very limited sun cost. And this will allow us to save up enough to get 2, which can at least attack every single lane, which is really useful, and even allows us to eventually build up multiple blaze leaves on different lanes, which to add extra damage. But sometimes they don't deal enough damage, so we have to place them in an inferno to deal with the cone head, which does a lot of damage, pushing them back as well. And we don't really have to worry too much about day 1, as it is really just the introduction to the world, and we quickly make easy work of day 1. On to the next day. Day 2, nothing too special and quite an easy level where we kind of just put down a couple of blaze leaves to fully attack all lanes, and to deal with the many flying upside down seagulls, we placed 2 blaze leaves at the bottom just to deal enough damage, because they're quite quick, so they get past 1 blaze leaf quite easily. So we put down 2 and we made quick easy work of day 2. Day 3 begins with collecting sun, and with the amount of sun we collected, we obviously put down some blaze leaves to allow us to hit every single row without a problem, so we could successfully go through this level with the limited sun effectively. And plus, I didn't want to use new plants yet, just on the easy levels. I kind of wanted to fill them out in later, more difficult levels. And with the amount of sun, we did place down some infernos, which I believed to be a good idea. But with the expensive cost, it did cost us a blaze leaf due to me being unable to put down a backup plant to help it go through. But we eventually collected enough sun that fell from the sky to place another blaze leaf, which I thought would have just allowed them to pass. And I even contemplated using plant food, but I kind of wanted to refrain from them over the very, very effective and overpowered plant food ability that blaze leaf has. And he actually killed them all, which I was unbelievably surprised about without a challenge. And we finally unlocked a new character from the game that we can actually use, being Snapdragon. Woo! Being quite excited after finally unlocking a character I can actually use, and there's a good few in this world that I can actually add to my family or deck of cards or whatever you want to call it. If you're worrying about what happened to day 4, it was very uneventful and we just flew through it. But day 5 is where we really got to understand how Snapdragon is able to be used. And developing an idea of keeping my original idea and placing a Snapdragon between it allowed for maximum damage for the middle 3 rows, as well as the blaze leaves attacking the top and bottom rows, allowing for maximum damage to be done. And wow, the day made quick work of all the zombies there, and even backing up some of the plants with another additional Snapdragons. And we haven't even touched the Wasabi Whip, because I kind of want to leave him to later levels so I can experience him where it's difficult and sun is difficult to come by, and I want to use him in some later worlds. But for right now, we're just going with this loadout. With the final wave sending a lot of seagull zombies out, we lost some plants, but we also flew through them with the useful advantage of having many snapdragons. And with the bucket heads being done, this allows us to continue to day 6. Day 6 and day 7 were quite easy levels, which none really happened and no notable things came, except for day 7 where we unlocked a note where the truck told us it was a map. Well, I'd hope so. Day 8 was quite a unique level. It was a gimmick level, which gave us a conveyor level, but as you can see, it did give us fire plants, but the rate that fire plants was being given to us wasn't enough for us to fully only do it by fire plants. I did attempt multiple times. I failed multiple times. I failed 10 times, I'm gonna be honest.
Damn.
And I just couldn't do this. Other levels, especially like the boss battle, I'm gonna just say now, was done only using fire plants. But this level, I don't know why, but the Gargantuars just didn't allow it. Every time I tried, they'd come squish and walk their way through. And with that, we move on to day 9. Day 9 was quite an uneventful day to say, and we quickly blew through, collecting the reward of a broad beam guy that bounces them back, which again we cannot use. Bringing us to day 10, which ended with a big implosion, which really didn't bring us much hassle and was quite another easy level that we flew through, bringing us to day 11. And also day 11 being another day where we kind of just floated by, being a good couple of filler levels that I don't really want to talk about. Unlocking us a coconut exploder guy, but you know, he has a bit of fire to him, but he's too expensive to even consider using throughout the challenge because we do not have any sun producers allowed. So yeah, but I mean, day 12 was quite a fun day, he said, but again, couldn't really use any other plants, so it had to be done. So yeah, that kind of brings us to day 13. Day 13 was a very unique level where we had to produce a certain amount of sun. This meant that we had to use the sunflower, which I just ended up using the twin one so we could get there faster in my thought process. But obviously we can just think about it as being the sun being fire. So yeah, this just made us easier to plant more plants, obviously due to the influx of sun in the level, and also just made it a lot easier level to fly through. But I thought I'd cover it because it's a cool, unique level that we haven't experienced yet throughout the series, and there is a lot more in Pirate Seas. So these were kind of easier levels due to the influx, and the second I reached the goal of the sun, I deleted all the sunflowers just to minimize it. But in this level, we finally reached the goal just before we ended the level, making this a nice fun level which I quite enjoyed doing. But throughout Pirate Seas, there's a lot of levels where you have to reach a certain amount of sun, so during these levels we will consider sunflower acceptable, because without it, it would be an impossible challenge. Day 14 was a build your defense type level, and obviously these levels are always beautiful because they're very easy and you could just beat them without trying. You place down all your good characters because you have a lot of sun, and they're never really challenging up to this point anyways. Same with Ancient Egypt, we're just going to skip these levels to save some time. Day 15 was quite a tricky day, which we had a tree peter top left which removed to get some extra sun, which was very plentiful, failed multiple times, which I eventually overthrown in this attempt that you're seeing on screen right now. But this level was quite a difficult level because the mushrooms on the left could not be crossed by any zombie or it's an instant fail, which was quite tough. But eventually I found out a method that would work using infernos as well as blaze leaves and a bit of snapdragons to kill all the zombies that were attacking, and turned out to be quite an easy level once I planned it correct. And they destroyed the imps, which was the notorious bad guys that always exploded, sending imps everywhere, and a couple of them got very close in this attempt. But overall we got through it with not too much difficulty, with 2 failed attempts at this, and it was quite fun to do overall. And brings us to day 16. Day 16 is the day where you got 2 endangered beam guys which push zombies back. But with this level, there was quite an annoying thing that kept coming, and these were the roller zombies which instantly killed them once they got into range, which made me fail a couple of times, kill the zombies before they could even reach the beans, which was a good plan up until a certain point where it got a bit more difficult, but we prevailed. And with the lack of sun, some of the zombies, especially swinging on the bottom 2 rows, became quite troublesome, so I just sacrificed my lawnmowers to eventually build up enough sun which I could use to kill them. And right here I got enough where I decided to just leave him take the lawnmower, and blaze leaf on the top row would kill the first one, which I was here. And right here you could see that the roller zombie was moving on, and I thought the blaze leaf could get him before he could be squished, and I was instantly wrong about that, eventually taking us out and the imp our plant and taking our first L. No, we don't take no L's. We ran that stuff back and we took the victory finally after many attempts. I'm not gonna put them all in here because yo, the difficulty's kind of going up, but we eventually won, and that brings us to day 17. Day 17 was quite an easy day where we kind of just had to kill a certain amount of zombies in a certain amount of time, which was quite easy. And the thing about the next couple of levels, I'm just going to be honest with you, keep it very clear. I don't want to waste your time and have a bunch of filler in it. The next couple of levels, they all involve sun producing plants, aka the sunflower, of course, because I have no other producing plants as of right now. And I don't really want to waste your time with them because they were quite easy and I flew through them without much difficulty. And now we can finally involve the wasabi whip after this, but let's just quickly go through so I can show you that I bet all these only using the sunflower and fire plants. Well, day 18 wasn't a sun producing level. It was actually a level where all the plants were pre-selected, and yet again a level I physically cannot do only using fire plants, as none of the fire plants have been selected, which we made quick and light work of it. Moving on to day 19. Day 19 is a day which has the sun producing as well as a unique mushroom level. If you remember, right here in the middle, if a zombie passes it, you will lose, but due to the influx of sun that we had from being able to use the sunflower, because if not we couldn't pass the level, made it a very light, easy level. Moving us on to day 20. Day 20, actually the easiest level of the past couple of levels, so yeah, very easy, very beautiful, and we move on to day 21. Day 21. This day was a very easy day which had two gimmicks where you have to kill a certain amount of zombie in a certain amount of time as well as produce a certain amount of sun. Very easy, we flew through it and we can finally start using the wasabi whip. Now day 22 was a build your defense level which gave us a lot of sun, so we had 3 layers of wasabi whip which was actually very useful. But like I said, I just wanted to try out some of the plant food too. I was really holding because I didn't really get to try it out in this world. But we made day 22 light work and we quickly zoomed on to day 23. Day 23 had the similar gimmicks as previous levels of having the mushrooms that cannot be trampled, as well as killing a certain amount of zombies in a certain amount of time, which was kind of filled with piracies where they always had a lot of gimmick levels, which at times were enjoyable, but with the vast amount they had, it was kind of annoying just, you know, doing these ones, especially. At least it wasn't a sun one, so we could fully do this only using fire plants, and we finally got to experience a lot of the beauties of the wasabi whip. Not too much happening, and it was easy level overall, ending it with a beautiful plant food just to hurry everything up because we were going to win anyways. And we move on to day 24. Day 24 was actually quite a difficult level and it had me replaying it multiple times to eventually beat it, but we eventually got it done with a unique thing which I found out, that the broad bean actually ducks underneath some of the flying seagulls, which I kept getting eliminated by. And I just placed a blaze leaf behind them one tile just so they could finish them off because they're quite fast and normally they don't really get it. But blaze beans hit all wave kind of shoot effect really was useful, and with the help of some fire please to help kill some of these faraway imps cannons was very useful, and it led me to beat the level a bit easier, but overall was still quite a difficult level. And we finally got to beat it and move on to the final day involving the boss battle. Woo! Day 25. This is a level which could actually be done only using fire plants. Okay, we're going to count the coconut cannon as a plant that is fire because it's a fuse. It shoots a bomb which explodes, which I'm gonna say is fire. But there's a conveyor level which technically I would normally allow to use all plants, but due to this it actually could be done. I tried it multiple times, no one went to reset if we had a bad start and whatnot, but eventually we got a brilliant run through. We started off with a coconut cannon beautifully that we could instantly take some health off the boss, but as you can see, a technique I used to make sure that we always had enough slots for more fire plants is I'd place down a plant and I'd remove it with the shovel as fast as I possibly can. I have to also look at the thing, keep a track of everything, as well as just having a whole view of everything. So there's times where I just wasn't able to remove the plants fast enough for them to deal damage, which isn't the perfect thing, but was the best I could do with what I had. There was times where it got really rough where we had no plants at all in place to take down this gigantuar, whatever you want to call it, and we just had to sacrifice our lawnmower. But a lot of the times where we thought we were in rough, Dr. Zomboss would take out all his guys as well as my guys, which I was willing to take to save as much as we could, and looked very rough, and I was getting quite nervous that we might lose once again, being another one to the last count. But we flew through with the plant foods using on the cannon, and as well as just being able to destroy him. And with some of the most clutchest cherry bombs of all time, there was a point where we had no plants on the field, but we somehow came through and won. This was one of the clutchest and one of the hardest levels I've done so far in this series, and it's only going to get more difficult from here. So if you like this video, and if you haven't seen the last video, click the video on the left and make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.